Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. And this is Barbara serving as your host today, and Brother Pete is here as your co-host.
Yeah, I'm glad to be along. Glad to have you all join us for this important teaching.
Okay, well, our title is SDA's 2300-Day Prophecy. The crucifixion date of AD 31 is not on a Friday. So SDAs and most Christians believe Jesus was crucified on Friday in AD 31. And here's a quote from Time Prophecy. Many Seventh-day Adventists and other Christians believe that Christ was crucified during Passover in 31 AD, based on Daniel's prophecy of 70 weeks. The prophecy begins with the 2300-day timeline. The entire interpretation of the 2300 days rests on the 31 AD crucifixion date. And I'm going to show you some samples of the 2300-day prophecy. And you will see in the middle, AD 31, the crucifixion of Yeshua, or Jesus. Here it is again, AD 31, the crucifixion. Now, the key dates on the prophecy chart are 457, the decree to rebuild Jerusalem, AD 27, the baptism of Jesus, AD 31, crucifixion of Jesus. Again, and this is the date we're pointing at right now, AD 34, stoning of Stephen, 1844, the end of the 2300 period. And so like I said, I'm fourth generation Seventh-day Adventist. I went to all the Adventist schools. My kids went to the Adventist schools. We had to know this chart by heart, and we had to be able to write it out. And so here is another one from Amazing Facts. AD 31, the crucifixion of Jesus, or Yeshua is his Hebrew name. So Seventh-day Adventists are generally expected to understand and accept the 28 fundamental beliefs prior to baptism. Baptismal preparation. New members, candidates attend baptismal classes to understand the 28 fundamental beliefs, which cover doctrines like the Seventh-day Sabbath, the sanctuary, which includes the 2300-day prophecy, the second coming, and the sleep of the dead. Here are the beliefs, and you are asked to raise your hand and vow to these beliefs, 28 beliefs in the Adventist Church. And here is number 24, Christ's ministry in the heavenly sanctuary. So you are asked to believe that in 1844, at the end of the prophetic period of the 2300 days, he entered in the second last phase of his atoning ministry, and this is all about cleansing of the sanctuary on Day of Atonement. So yes, they are correct. AD 31 was the crucifixion of Yeshua. However, it is not on a Friday. It's not on a Gregorian calendar. Passover was a lunar event, the 14th day of the first lunar month at the full moon. The moon's phases can be determined past or future with accuracy. Psalms 104:19 says he appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knows his going down.
Accompanied with his disciples, the Savior slowly made his way to the Garden of Gethsemane. The Passover moon, broad and full, shone from the cloudless sky. The city of pilgrims' tents was hushed into silence. The Desire of Ages, page 685. The Paschal full moon is the particular ecclesiastical full moon that is used in the calculation of the date of Easter. The name Paschal is derived from Pascha, a transliteration of the Aramaic word meaning Passover. This Paschal full moon is the one that falls on or after March 21st. March 21st is the ecclesiastical equinox, the date fixed by the Gregorian reform of the calendar as fixed reference date for the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. The actual equinox can fall on March 19th, 20th, or 21st. The date, Easter, is determined as the first Sunday after that specific full moon. This full moon does not necessarily correspond directly to any astronomical event, but is instead the 14th day of the lunar month. Determined from tables, it may differ from the date of the actual full moon by up to 2 or even 3 days. Taken from Wikipedia.
So the Passover date is always the 14th day of Abib or Nisan. And Leviticus 23:5 says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is Yah's Passover. Passover is always at the time of the full moon. And you can see here on the calendar showing a lunar cycle with new moon beginning the month. And then in the middle of the month, you have your full moon, and Passover is the feast right before. So scholars have generally agreed that the only dates that the crucifixion could have taken place was AD 30, 31, or 33. The reason for these years is that there are other historical events in the New Testament era that took place at known dates, and that must be taken into consideration and placed in the timeline. Like, for example, you can see here the time when Pilate was ruling. So Israel was not using the Julian or the Gregorian calendar in the first century. All the world kept a lunar calendar. And you can look it up for yourself. We did a whole video on this, the historical evidence of all the world having a lunar solar calendar. And there are a lot of Jewish articles saying that they kept a lunar calendar.
Sabbath and new moon, Rosh Chodesh, both periodically reoccur in the course of the year. The new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally was, dependent upon the lunar cycle. That from Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, page 410. The Hebrew month is a lunar month, and the quarter of this period, one phase of the moon, appears to determine the week of 7 days. That's Encyclopedia Britannica, page 4780. The early Hebrews employed lunar 7-day weeks, which ended with special observances on the 7th day, but nonetheless were tied to the moon's course. That from Hutton Webster in his book Rest Days, page 254.
I'll leave all these links below for you to study out for yourself. And there are many, many, many more Jewish quotes. This is just 3. So if Saturday was the Sabbath in AD 31, Friday would have been Passover. But there are no Friday, Saturday, Sunday crucifixion weekends available in AD 27 to 33. If you could count all the way back by 7s on our Gregorian calendar, any new moon phase calculator will tell you that the Passover full moon would have been on Wednesday in AD 27. It would have been on a Monday in AD 28, on a Sunday 29, on a Thursday in AD 30, on the Wednesday in AD 31, on Sunday in AD 32, and on Thursday in AD 33, if you could count back by 7s. So there's no Friday crucifixion.
The pagan planetary 7-day week was not employed by Israel in the first century. They observed the lunar solar calendar established at creation, a fact corroborated by historians and proved in Scripture.
Rome was using an 8-day weekly calendar in the 1st century. Therefore, it is false to assume that the crucifixion was on a Friday, followed by a Saturday in the grave and a Sunday resurrection. Rome was not using the current Gregorian calendar in the 1st century. Rome had an 8-day market calendar, and that Julian calendar has 8 days in a week, and the letters A through H represent each day. Rome did not officially adopt the pagan 7-day planetary week until AD 321. The new order of the week was enforced by Emperor Constantine, and the Jews were persecuted if they kept the lunar calendar. So Saturday is only the 7th day of the week by virtue of Emperor Constantine. In 321 AD, he venerated the day of the sun, which moved Saturday from its coveted position as the 1st day of the week to the 7th day of the week. And this we learned in school too, that the first Sunday law was AD 321. But they did not tell us, and by the way, this is a quote from one of our Adventist publishing companies, Nashville, Tennessee, Southern Publishing Association. This whole quote is. And the quote is here about Saturn. Saturday was the 1st day of the week. And so Sunday was the 2nd day of the week. Constantine, and you see on the chart where I moved it, Constantine put Saturn Day as day 7 and Sunday as day 1. With Saturn Day as day 7, it gave the Jews a 7th day to worship on. So why do Christians try to force a Friday crucifixion? Here you see Holy Week, the Holy Week of Rome, Palm Sunday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday. And remember, all the days of the week are named after pagan gods and pagan planets. Revelation 13:3 says,
"And I saw one of his heads, as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast."
Oh, well, fish eating on Good Friday. The fish symbol also represents the goddess of fertility, Ishtar, or Easter, and the creator of life, as she was the creator of life, they say. And the eating of fish on Fridays was a sacrament to the god Dagon, and Dagon was a fish god. Pope Leo says we must rest on Holy Saturday. It's the seal of God. There's your link. You can go look it up. Easter Sunday in Rome. But who is Easter? She is Gaia, Asherah, Ishtar, Artemis, Venus, Aphrodite, Semiramis, Nature, Mother Nature, Great Mother, Frigga, Libertas, Astre, Durga, Hathor, and Queen of Heaven. And I'm sure you've heard of Mary as Queen of Heaven. So here are some more Seventh-day Adventist beliefs. And this is from the Adventist.org. Mark 16:2 says that these women came early morning on the 1st day of the week, the day after the Sabbath, but they found that Jesus had resurrected that morning. Mark 16:6. So today we celebrate Easter on Sunday. This is from the Adventist Church. Today we celebrate Easter on Sunday, the day when Jesus resurrected. And Good Friday is Friday to mark when Jesus died. And the Bible is plain that the day that fell between these two was Sabbath. This means that the 7th day, the day of rest, was on Saturn Day. Here's another quote from an Adventist magazine called AdventistToday.org. Why Easter Saturday is as important as Easter Sunday. Some Seventh-day Adventist churches conduct Easter sunrise services to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, often featuring outdoor worship, special music, and community breakfast. And they say this is to reach out to the community. But what does the Bible say about sunrise services?
Idolatry in the temple, Ezekiel 8:14-16. They worship the sun toward the east. Verse 14. And then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of Yahweh, and I saw women sitting there mourning for Tammuz. He said to me, do you see this, son of man? You will see things that even more detestable than this. He then brought me into the inner court of the house of Yahweh, and there at the entrance of the temple between the portico and the altar were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh and their faces toward the east, and they were bowing down to the sun in the east.
So Revelation 18:4 says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. There's a double counterfeit, Saturday and Sunday, Matthew 24:24.
For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall shew thee great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
The entire Seventh-day Adventist denomination was founded upon a belief that the 2300-day year prophecy of Daniel 8:14 ended on October 22nd, 1844, as taught by the Millerite movement of the 1840s. And this is significant because the only way to arrive at that date is by using the ancient biblical lunar solar calendar. The lunar solar calendar was used to calculate the Day of Atonement.
Without the original lunar solar calendar, there would be no Day of Atonement on October 22nd in 1844. This ancient method of time measuring was the very foundation for determining the time, prophecy, and the cleansing of the sanctuary doctrine, which is the hallmark belief of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which grew out of the Millerite movement.
So the seventh-month movement. The Millerites knew the ancient lunar calendar so well that they were able to calculate in advance the Day of Atonement. And without this understanding, there would have been no seventh-month movement, no midnight cry, and later, no cleansing of the sanctuary doctrine within Adventism. It is not too strong a statement to say that without the lunar solar calendar, there would be no 2300-day doctrine within the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we did a video about this a few years ago. I hope you will go watch it. Our Seventh-day Adventist Church covered up the truth about the lunar Sabbath. They studied it in 1938 and in 1995, and they know that it is the true calendar. So Daniel 7:25.
And he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, and shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, and times, and half a time. Malachi 3:6. For I am Yahweh, and I change not.
So the calendar of creation started way back there in Genesis 1:14, the sun, moon, and stars.
And the Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens, and divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years."
Yeshua used the lunar solar calendar of Israel. He was in the Passover. He was the Passover lamb. He died on the 14th day of a lunar month. He rested in the Sabbath on the 15th day, and he resurrected on the 16th. And so Yeshua observed the lunar solar Sabbath beyond a reasonable doubt in his life and even in his death. The calendar of creation will be kept in the new earth.
And it shall happen that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says Yahweh.
And Psalms 89:37 says it will be established forever, like the moon, the faithful witness in the sky. So to go find out more about our calendar that is in the heavens, more about feast days, more about Sabbaths, I hope that you will go to our website, LunarSabbathDay.com. And thank you so much for being here.